Hi, it's just Paulie here. Whee, doing a little handheld. So, I did a trip to Japan back in the 90s. Now, what had happened was a friend had a ticket, but he phoned me up. Essentially, he said he couldn't go on this trip because of, he had a family emergency, and he couldn't get a refund on the ticket. He could change the name, so he could change who was going, but he couldn't change the dates. So basically, he said, "Do you want to go to Japan? It'll be for exactly 2 weeks. You have to leave at this time and return at this time. But it's in 3 days' time." It's like, oh shit. Now, I was then, as I am now, apocalyptically poor. So I had like $250 to my name. But free trip to Japan came with the rail pass, which meant, okay, so I can kind of get around anywhere. I said yes. Kamikaze, let's go. So I had a fan friend living over there. So I made some arrangements. Said, oh, okay, this is pre-internet days, but phone the friend. He said, yes, you can stay at our place. Like, score. Okay, I can stay there. I got $250. That's $20 a day, kind of, sort of. So, give or take, a bit less. 15. But yeah, I'll make it. I mean, these guys said they'll sort of feed me for an evening, so I got lunch money and I got train money, and Tokyo Comic Cat was on. So I said, right, so I'm going to try and pitch some of my shows to some of the studios there. I'm going to go to Tokyo Comic Cat because I was doing a lot of comics in those days, and I'm a very serious comic person, and I'll have a look at Comic Cat. I was in fact probably the first gaijin that ever had turn up to Comic Cat. So I phoned the Comic Cat people, and they sort of were really keen to have me. It's like, oh, okay, we'd like you to do some presentations, and so I went, oh, okay, fair enough. And we have some translators who will meet you, and they can sort of show you around the con. Oh, very, very nice. Thank you very much. So off I went. Banzai! Yeah, no money, and So I get to Narita Airport. First thing waiting me is a message from my fan friend. Oh, yeah, we've had to go. Yeah, the wife spat the dummy, etc., so you can't stay at our place. Fuck me. Okay, $250. So I did have a handbook, so I flicked around and I found like there was a kind of a youth hostel I could stay at for $20 a night. But okay, I wonder what the park benches are like in Japan. Pretty good actually. But what the hey, off I went. I found this little cheapy place, and yeah, the gods smiled on me for this trip. I went out the first night, just kind of exploring. I got no money. What's the cheapest food in Japan? So I'm trying to find some way of like surviving, maybe. And I love insects. I adore insects. And I can see through a canvas awning over like a little obscure shop down a side alley the shadow of this enormous rhinoceros beetle. So, wow. So I looked around and like, oh, there's a tree. I climbed up the tree so I could get up to the canvas awning. And yes, sitting up on top of this thing is, this beetle is like the size of my fist. It was stunning, stunning animal. Just superb. So I sat there communing with the beetle for a while. Just a beautiful thing. And then, okay, it's off to do its beetle thing. So as I climb down, I look, and fluttering between the wall of the building and this wooden fence is some bills of Japanese money that are just kind of caught in there. So I kind of pull them out, and it's like umpteen zillion yen. And it worked out to about 500 US bucks. Holy shit. Grab it, score, out of there. The Beetle God has given me a gift. You will survive this trip. Fantastic. So day one, tripled my money. And I'm alive. I've got enough to live on. So, Beetle God, yay! And then I went to Tokyo Comic Cat. Well, it was really cool. First off, they had a staff of 4 translators, and these guys were really eager to be my bestest friends on the universe because they got all these perks. Like, they got into the con for free, and they got all this stuff, if they promised to be volunteer translators. I really was the only gaijin that had ever turned up at this point. So, to justify the entry and perks that they got, these guys are really showing me around and being seen to visibly show the foreigner around so that the guys running the con would say, good job. So that was hilarious. These guys took me out to places to eat, and they were hilarious. We stay in correspondence even to this day. But I did a comic book called Tank Vixens, which was largely a piss take on manga. And some of the manga artists had been over to San Diego Comic-Con that year, and they had seen this and absolutely busted a gut laughing, and they brought a box of these things back. And these were kind of a undercover hit in Japan. The manga artists were reading them and found them hilarious, but you kind of couldn't be seen visibly kind of out in the open reading them because it was biting the hand that feeds you, because it was a piss take on anime and the whole publishing industry there. So, but I had a Tank Vixens t-shirt on. Some girl saw this, came running over. Oh, Tank Vixen, oh, that's cars. Oh, yes, this is mine. So she said, oh, what could I say? Stay here, stay here, stay here. She ran off and brought this guy running over, and they dragged me over to this table. There's a huge kind of section of table where all of these guys who did sort of manga, not kind of the real mainliners, but the guys who are like the fun ones, and yes, like the Tank Vixens person's here, and those were my party animals for the con, and they let me stay at their places and so on, and that was hilarious. I'll love those guys forever. So I stayed with someone who back then went by the name of Scott Fraser. These days they have trans. They are Jan Fraser, wonderful person, fantastic. But like Jan was a anime director and had been involved in things like Evangelion and Appleseed and all these top-notch projects. So score. Now I wasn't a big anime fan. Knew of it, liked some of what I liked. As a kind of an animation-y person and a comic booky person, like and admire some of it. The rest drives me up the tree, but, it was really nice meeting these people. Now, a funny thing was, Jan said, oh, I know you're here for the con, but what happens is, it's big and this is so popular that the trade tables, they change each day, and they change each half day. So there's a theme for the trade floor. So it like Friday morning, and it changes over Friday afternoon. Saturday morning, it changes over at midday. So you might not want to go for Saturday morning. This is why. Well, it's Girls' Day, and I am a consummate comics professional. I will certainly go and have a look at girls' comics. I want to see what they've got to offer. I want to see what their styles are, and I want to see what they've got. So, of course I shall go. Should have probably taken Jan's advice on that one. So I walked in, and of course, there's these girls, and I walk up to this table with these two, just ethereally beautiful Japanese girls, just, so innocent and so beautiful. And they've got piles of their portfolios and their comics there, and like they've got these wow, foreign business, fantastic, and they suggest, oh, do you want to see our stuff? Oh, absolutely, I want to see your stuff. So they spin their up portfolio and open it up. It's like, we're not talking girls comics here. These were the Guro people. For those of you who don't know, gore, essentially pretty much X-rated sex comics that are all about evisceration, dismemberment, heads being cut off, guts flying everywhere, and it's like, that's what these girls are drawing. That's what this morning was. And I'm like, holy snapping assholes. And of course I'm kind of caught because I'm trying to be so polite and so on, and they're like so eager to show off their work, so they're like slowly turning each page for me so that I can see the full skill that's gone into inking this, and or you can read, oh, nice, beautifully inked. Is this a form of toning paper you're using, or is this like, oh, I see, it's a stencil. Yes, that's a beautiful effect where the guts fly out there. Yes, so at the next table have seen that, so, oh, they've come up with their one, because it's like, oh, if you've liked this, you'll like us. And I have to be so polite to all these people because they're it's what they do, and you got to love them for it. But so I was caught for that day. Had to drink pretty heavily to get some of those images out of my mind. The anime guys basically said, oh, have you met Ipponji Bang? And she'd been published by one of my publishers, so I knew of her. Ipponji Bang, she is a manga artist and a very, very good one. She's also a rock singer, so she runs this whole band, which is really cool. She's also a soft porn actress, so she's stunningly beautiful, charismatic. She's a delight. But they said she wants to be your guide. She wants to go with you to these studios that I've lined up to see my stuff. She'll go along with you as a translator and everything. So, well, that's really generous. So, Ipponji Bang, a fantastic human being. But I hadn't met her. But so they'll meet you by this dog statue down there. I think it's Harajuku. There's like a famous statue of a dog. So I'm standing there, waiting. And then coming towards me in the crowd of, otherwise ordinary Japanese people is this woman. Yeah, absolute knockout. Long hair that's been dyed green. She is wearing a tiger patterned butt thong bikini, but she's got a black fishnet body stocking over the top of it. She is wearing a Stetson hat, and she's got a like American style, Wild West gun belt, but instead of bullets in the bullet loops, it's lipsticks, and she had a early pattern mobile phone in the holster. And I was just staring. I was like, I'm gonna bet that's the rock star come soft porn actress. Yeah, and yes, it was. And so this was my guide around Tokyo and the movie studios in Japanland. She was hilarious. She was vivacious. She was just gorgeous. A fan of hers met up and came along with us. Now, this guy turns up to all of her concerts, was always in the front row, and this guy, he dresses as an anglerfish. So he wears his bodysuit with little scales on it, which completes, well, a hood just shows his face, and he's got like an itty bitty book light, like a long metal thing with a bing, a light on the end, and that's just what he does. He's always dancing in the front of the concerts. So yeah, this guy came along as well for the ride, and they were a absolute scream. Some of the studios he went to, you could tell the animators have clearly not really seen a woman before, so I'm sitting there talking with these directors and sign up the top, and this is the things, and here's the project and whatever, and she's just gone down to the water cooler to get something, and you'd have all these cubicles where these guys were animating and all these little heads leaning out. Oh my god, she went past. But we went to visit Studio Godaigo. One of my problems, like my family, my accent is very Australian, with kind of Scottish overtones. But yes, we have that definite British thing where you kind of mortify for other people's embarrassment or potential embarrassment, like you suffer for them. This is one of those moments. We go to Studio Godaigo, and it turns out, I was her Trojan horse to get into Godaigo. She was a huge fangirl of their stuff. Godaigo has a property called Cutie Honey, which is a Japanese superhero which has been running since the 60s. It was a live action, silly, kind of sexy superheroine. And so we turn up, and the director, he'd sent like an aide to meet us, and this guy he was actually desolate. He said, "You've come all this way from Australia. I'm sorry, we're doing a live shoot, and just there's been a couple of disasters out on the actual shoot. It's a location shoot, so the director's tied up. I'm sorry, he won't be here for about 2 hours." Well, we'd actually come, it was a fair way out, like it'd taken us about an hour to get there. Said, "Oh, well, do you need us to come back another day?" So, "Oh, well, we'd love to meet you, but he is going to be at least 2 hours. Do you mind staying?" So, "Oh, no, well, we don't mind staying." "Well, it's all hands on deck, so sorry, we can't even leave anyone with you." But he brought out iced coffee, Japanese iced coffee, which is actually coffee with ice in it. Fair enough. And here's some snacks and so on. And there's a kitchen here. You can make more stuff. And we'll have to leave you. But if you do need anything, he said, "Oh no, you're very generous. Oh my God, thank you." So off they went. But this room had glass-fronted cabinets in it, and it's got the costumes hanging in them from the different periods of Cutie Honey. So here's the 1960s version, here's the 1970s version, here's the early 1980s version, here's one from like the super special 1980s movie, here's the early 1990s one, here's the current one. They're all kind of there. So Bang's like do, and she's the hugest fangirl for Cutie Honey in the universe. And she finds that there's no locks on these cabinets, it's just open. So she pulls these things, and she sort of, "Is that guy in the corridor?" Says, No, he went." "What?" No, he got in the car and went. I think it's just, I don't know if there's anyone else in this huge office. Like, I can hear some vague noises. They might have left someone there to answer phones down there, but, I think it's just us. So, "Oh, guard the door." And I turn around, and suddenly she's thrown her kit off. She's basically stripping down into, nothing, undies, skin to the wind. And she's pulling out these costumes, and she's handing me a costume. She's putting on the Cutie Honey costumes. Like, "Get photos of me in the Cutie Honey costumes." This is her fangirl moment. Oh my God, we are going to be killed. We're going to be killed. They are going to actually invent an entire new way of killing just to kill her. Oh my God, woman, stop. No, she puts on these things. All right, so I'm like, "Oh no, it's coming quick." Photograph her. Okay, now the 70s one. Now the one from 1974. Now the one from the 1978 musical special. Oh my God. Oh, I got through that alive somehow. Yes, so That was Jesus. So yes, she is hilarious, but oh my god, I was so sure we were going to get killed. We met Godigo in the end. Nice. But yeah, I went out to Matsumoto Castle. Matsumoto Castle is the oldest surviving castle in Japan. Most castles you see there are, of course, post-World War II rebuilds, because most Japanese castles are wood, and they did not survive the US Army Air Force and the US naval airstrikes very well. However, Matsumoto is in the middle of sodding nowhere, and it did. And it's quite an early one. It's a black castle, and it's really interesting. And Matsumoto, so you go up into the mountains, blah, 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 blah. And here's the thing. So Jan Fraser has booked me a ryokan, which is a traditional kind of that's a traditional inn that you can stay at. Okay, so I just get up here and I've got a vague number written down of a street number. This is what the Japanese will look like, because this is the middle of nowhere. There's no English on these things, and this is the number. So I turn up in this kind of country town up in the mountains and go walkies. Now, for one thing, there's no signpost to the castle. I only found the castle by using logic, because it's like a Japanese castle is not a European castle. A European castle will be in the best possible position for defense, so look for the high points. But it's like, hang on, this is actually a plains area. There's a style of Japanese castle, which is, the basic one, which are mountain castles, which are usually sculpted hillsides. But this is flat. So this will be an administrative center. So look for a flat land, and it's going to be near a body of water, because that's the major way of. So I found it by, logic. But I go looking for this damned place to stay. Now, the thing about Japanese street addresses is that they don't. The actual streets don't follow in logical kind of progression. The houses in there, so in most places like here or the USA or whatever, the houses in the street will be like, on one side it'll be odds, on the other side it'll be even, and it'll go up 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. But in Japan, the numbers are the order in which the structure was built on the street. So it could be 1, 17, 5, 3, whatever. And as one thing, like if the house is demolished and a new thing is built, it might keep the old number, or it might have a new number all of its own. So it's like, uh-oh. So I'm wandering around trying to match sort of Jan's written thing and try and find, and there's no numbers on these fucking things. However, there was one kind of larger house, and it was, this country quiet. There was just a dirt lane. So sort of like, I'm kind of having to walk halfway down these long driveways to try and find what's going on. And there was this, larger house, and there's an old guy asleep under a tree. So I kind of walking up, and the guy just sort of looked at me and just went, hi, hello. Oh, no, he's back asleep. I can't really. So I sort of wandered into this place. There's no one there. It was quite large. There were a few different rooms, which is just like a few tatamis and a sliding door. There's no desk, there's no check-in, there's no people, there's no one there, there's just nothing. Well, it's starting to get, so I found the place. I went and visited the castle and whatever. Come back. The old guy's gone. No one's there. There's one light on in this place. So I wandered in. No one, nothing. All right, so I just stayed there that night, and in the morning I got up, and there's still no one really around. The thing had been prepaid, so I guess there was no. So I went out, and the old guy was actually out there, sort of in the same spot, fast asleep under this tree again. He didn't wake up, so I just wandered on. So to this day, I don't know. Did I stay in a ryokan? Or did I just accidentally bomb in on someone's house and sleep overnight in a spare room? We will never know. Matsumoto Castle was really interesting, by the way, but my father was an architect, and I have been a student of castles all my life. They've been one of my guiding passions. I think I have visited every single castle in the UK, which is no mean feat if you look up the numbers of them, even ones that are just a pile of rocks. But this is my first Japanese castle, so I was very interested in the construction and so on of it. And so, there's the tour groups or whatever, but there's a section that had been damaged in a huge earthquake. But the main curtain wall kind of sheared in too. So I climbed up into this breach because I wanted to see the construction. And, okay, so This section is actual, it's a rubble fill, which is jointed stone face. I took a tape measure out and just kind of like measured a couple of things. And the curators came by, wondering what the hell I was doing. And I sort of explained, well, look, I'm actually a military historian, and I'm very interested in military architecture and so on, and this is my first Japanese castle, and I'm a long-time martial arts student of these very old schools, etc. So they just lit up, and I got the special tour, and that was hilarious. And if you ever get the chance, do that sort of thing. They showed me all the bits where there's graffiti on the walls from old samurai, and as they're translating this out, these are full of things like, Yoshi has a really small knob, and Yoshi has, yeah, that's not what your mum said last night. And it's like, so they got, yeah, but your mum jokes up on the wall. And so, yeah, these guys were way funnier than we thought. There's this kind of, and then they showed me they've got an armor museum, which is great. So they'll turn the things over so it actually see the internal fastenings, which is very important when you're making armor. And I mean, so this is great, And if I was doing that, like I've often done that at places like the Wallace Collection and so on, the armorers will kind of let you in and do things if if you're a serious scholar, but it'll be white gloves on these guys. Like I'm taking the extra care. Oh no, by all means, try it on. Fuck. But we have a room of stuff that we haven't got out in the public because we're not sure. It's not 100% appropriate. We're not sure what to do with it. So what do you mean? So they showed me, and this was hilarious. Tanegashima, Japanese arquebuses and muskets, of course, were very, very important, a major weapon. The Japanese developed these very, very rapidly once the Portuguese brought some versions over, and they were very skilled. But they've got a display of these things, which is great. I learned an awful lot about Japanese guns there and the different styles. There's many different styles, banzutsu, jozutsu, saraizutsu, ozutsu, all these sorts of things. Fantastic. So, they're telling me, but what they were worried about was the powder flasks. It seems that, you need your powder flask to put a measure of powder in there. It seems that the local samurai had been very keen on powder flasks that look like cock and balls. They had a big collection of these, like easily a dozen of these, and yes, powder flasks beautifully carved as erections. The powder comes out the end, and you got triggers on them, so you put the end of this cock into your musket and squeeze the powder out there. We're just not sure if this is for display. But wait, there's more. The Japanese had developed very early on cartridges. Now, in Europe, these were paper cartridges full of gunpowder with the ball at the end tied off, and you bite the bullet out, powder goes down, spit your bullet, the paper goes in wadding, zhunk, ram, zhunk, click, bang, fire. Fantastic. The Japanese ones are normally made from bamboo, of course. So you'll have a pouch or a sling that has like a few dozen of these pre-done bamboo things with a cap on them. Fantastic. And of course, some little local genius has decided that he's going to make cartridges also shaped like cocks. So they got this whole kind of pornographic themed gunnery exhibition that they weren't sure what to do with. And I said, look, if you go to Pompeii or somewhere like that, they'll have a place that basically says, and here's the porn we found in Pompeii. Come in and see it, but maybe this isn't for kids or whatever. But no, display it. This is history. So I sincerely hope they did. They were great guys. But yes, yeah, but your mother and here's my cock and balls powder flask samurai. They weren't quite as grim and unforgiving as you think. Oh my god, yes. So anyway, Japan, land of cool outfits, and I long to go back there and get up to some actual serious hijinks. Show the girls in Shinjuku how Australians dress. Anyway, I'll keep martial arting on, and I will talk to you again. Bye.